Hayden Rose here, and thank you to all of you who've joined me for the entire year, preferably starting with week number 1, the 80-20 principle. And I want to build on last week's focus on probability fields from a slightly different angle. So I talked last week about each of us existing in a probability field, that it's an intersection between who we are and reality. So there's the me that drinks half a beer. There's the me that drinks a whole beer. There's the me that drinks a Coke. There's the me that drinks a electrolyte lime quencher. There's the me that takes vitamins. There's the me that does yoga. There's the me that doesn't do yoga, that doesn't take vitamins. There's the me that eats organic food. There's the me that doesn't. There's the me that is stuck in traffic, the me, etc., etc., etc. Now, all of this is in a probability field. Now, there's also the me that is abused. There is the me that doesn't have enough savings. There is the me that is highly honored and respected. There's the me that has 100,000 in the bank. So there's all these different probability fields. And what I want to suggest is that who we are is very largely dependent on the intersection between the actual and the probable, but where the actual comes to land, meaning like I could get up this morning and eat this and do this and do this and do this and do this, and that would take me here. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to sleep in and do this and this and this, and then I'm going to do this, and that will take me here. They're both me in the probability field. Now, our job is to figure out the optimal intersection between probability field and reality that helps me be the best me. That's our job. And when we learn to do that well, the next job is to do one of two things. Either we can find other people who are intersecting at a high point in their probability field. What does that look like? They're eating the food that is good for their body. They're doing the exercise that is good for their body. They're reading the books that inspire them. They are doing the work that builds on their strengths. They are watching the movies that spark ideas. They are spending time with a lover who adores them, etc., etc., etc. Now, so we can connect with other people that are at a high point in their probability field. But in this video, I want to talk about something a little different. And that is, there's a term in a very technical sense that I refer to as love ability, the ability to love someone. And this love ability is a very feminine trait initially, because particularly if someone is in pain and at a low point in their intersection with probability, they're in pain at a low, which, keep in mind, robotic arm shoves itself through your door right now, picks you up by the leg, crunches it off. It's not very probable. It's possible. But should that happen, you are going to be at a high pain point, meaning you're going to be the same you. You're just going to be in a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. We weren't expecting that. And you're going to be at your worst you may be, depending on your mindset, you may get level-headed, you may black out, you may get strategic, you may become sociopathic and, just completely focus on yourself to survive. There's a lot of different yous that can be induced by different probabilities, different elements in the reality. Now, when you find someone who's at a low intersection point in their reality, who doesn't have the resources, who doesn't have the power to go to a high point of probability, and they are lovable. Now, lovable, starting with the feminine energy, receptive. Someone who is coachable is more lovable than someone who is not coachable. What is coachable? You say, may I coach you on this? They say, I'd love to be coached on that. 2, would you be more interested in this, or this? I'm more interested in this. Thank you for asking. Coachable. Where's your problem with that? Well, my problem is this, and this. Thanks for asking. Okay. What's working for you? What have you done so far, etc. So you get to this point and you say, okay, try this, try that, try this, and tell me how that works. And a very coachable person goes off, tries this, tries that, comes back, says, thanks for the advice. This worked, this didn't work. And this is a form of lovability, meaning you may care about that person. You may want the best for them. You may know exactly how to get there for them. You may not, but you may. But if you say, what's the problem here? And they say, what's it to you? Why do you want to know? Well, that's obviously not coachable. They're answering a question with a question. They're looking at you with projecting eyes that are imagining you're some kind of terrible person. Not very fun. And they have an energy of, who do you think you are to care about me? Well, I just thought it was a human being who cared about you. You're in pain, I can help. So we're talking about coachability as the first part of lovability. The other is emotionality. Every single one of us is trying to go towards a high state. And frankly, one of the easiest and fun ways to get to a high state is to gracefully help another person to go into a high state themselves. You find someone crying in despair, and you help. Of course, you feel caring. I'm so sorry. What's happening? What can I do? Initially down energy. If they are lovable, you can put their arm around them. Man or woman, doesn't matter. You can put your arm around them and they will allow you to help their body regulate. Touch helps people in an unregulated emotional state to regulate and ground. So that's easy. No sophisticated treatise, no PhD. A warm, present hug allows regulation and calming, brings in oxytocin, brings in balancing chemicals. Someone who is lovable, thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for understanding. Thank you for being you. And allows themselves to start calming down, regulating, etc. Someone who is not lovable, what are you up to? I didn't say, I don't. We're not. I don't know you well enough. Well, they cannot experience that rapid regulation because of a series of cultural filters, a series of traumas. It's not their fault. I'm not saying that people who are unlovable, it's their fault. It's the culture's issue. If the typical human being has been so traumatized, so scared, so hurt by the proximity of other people in an emotionally illiterate culture that they feel safer being unloved in this culture than anyone being near them. Well, that's a big cultural failing. So this is not judging unlovable people. I'm just saying on a technical level, the person that calms down immediately, starts regulating breathing, feels completely safe, so it drops all out, and then of course they start smiling. Now, there's a wonderful feeling around this, and it's the masculine-feminine dance. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, if it's two women, if it's one man. The feminine part is the receiving part, the one that's trusting and allowing to change, the vulnerability. The masculine, the protector, the responder. The feminine is hurting here. That's the emotion. A man or a woman is in pain. A man or a woman is in need. That's emotion. That's the feminine. That's hurt. I, the masculine, am going to respond. I'm going to protect with an arm around. The message is someone's going to have to go through my body to get to you. Whatever is hurting you, we're in this together. That is exactly the message an individual needs to go out of trauma. Now, the culture fucks with that thing by saying that if you have needs, you're inferior. If you're emotional, you're inferior. The culture is so chauvinistic, it fucks with this. But in the true honoring of both masculine and feminine energy, so one of the greatest joys is to participate in lifting someone's emotional state so they feel exposed, alone, hurt, no one cares, etc. The deepest painful place is the place on the outside of the community, and the most painful thought a human being can have is, I'm not safe, I'm not wanted, I'm in enormous pain, and I don't belong. This is the deepest wound. And it can go that much deeper when the person adds, and I'm ashamed of who I am. I'm ashamed of having needs. Why? Because everyone's shaming me. So this is one of the darkest places a human being can go. Ends in despair, suicide, depression, blah, blah, blah. So you're breaking that cycle. You belong. I had a plan. I was going somewhere. But your emotions are more important than that plan. My emotions do matter. Your safety is more important than that plan. I trust you. You belong. We're going to create oxytocin together that creates a feeling of belonging. Any predator is going to have to go through me. You're safe. What's the problem? Here's the problem. Here's how we can work on that together. Here's what you can do. Your needs are important. Your well-being is important. So this is a very lovable person. Now, different cultures produce varying degrees of lovability. Thailand, Philippines, a little bit more lovable than colder climates. Colder climates actually produce a lot more sociopathic instincts, but there's also a number of cultural continuums and all that. So different places create different degrees of lovability. So we've got coachability, touchability. Then we've got honoring ability. For example, when you love someone, you're expressing your feelings. I care about you. I want to help you. I want to know this. I want to see if you're safe here. I want to understand this. I want to see you. So the next form of lovability is, here I am. Your caring is welcome. I'm comfortable with you. And whatever you want to see, here it is. Now, of course, when you are lovable, you are also hurtable. Goes with the territory. And so someone who is not hurtable is not lovable. Someone who is not lovable is not hurtable, but we're specifically talking about a lovable and thus hurtable person as well. And this is an important responsibility for the masculine, whoever is in the masculine pole. In a two-men relationship, the person who is responding to the feminine in the other man is in the masculine pole. So in that dynamic, it's my responsibility in the masculine pole to show sensitivity, which means regulating to their pace. Sometimes mirroring is an important part of this. An image is coming to mind. If for example, sucking thumb is actually a baby's way of regulating and getting themselves back in their body, because one part of the body is going into the other part of the body, and however hard they suck, it brings them back in, or they bite. That pain is grounding. You can't be out of your body and bite yourself. And of course it's harmless because the skin is thick there, and so there's a regulatory attunement going on that's self-soothing. I met someone who, in their stress, an adult, started sucking their thumb. Now, because this kind of stuff gets shamed so much, I immediately wanted to let her know, you're not alone in this and I'm not judging you. So I started sucking my thumb, and there's just a mirroring going on. And what I'm saying is, you're okay. You belong. I'm not judging you. Your idiosyncrasies are welcome. This is another part of that sense of connection, belonging, bonding. Now, the next stage of lovability is gratitude, and it happens very naturally when you're in the feminine. But in any sustainable exchange, there needs to be an equal exchange of energy. Now, in the myopia of chauvinism, we of course look to the external and we devalue the internal. So you give someone a beautiful gift or you cook them a bit of food, external, I'm giving to you. But when they smile, when they light up with joy, when they say, thank you so much, this is wonderful, they're giving you energy. And frankly, in my experience, the energy of gratitude and joy is much bigger than the energy of preparing a food or a gift. I mean, it can get out of whack if you give someone a $70,000 Mercedes and that's all your savings, and they say, thank you so much, and that's the end of that. But it's important to understand that outside the cultural blinders, energy matters. Feelings matter. Energy is infectious. Feelings are infectious. So that smile, if you have any sense of lovability, that smile is going to catch hold. It's going to touch you. It's going to lift you. And it's going to enable you to have more resources to go and create the next thing for yourself or someone else than before the event. So this is, a part of lovability, someone that has the capacity to go outside themselves and be grateful and communicate that in your love language. Now this, I think I've talked about love languages earlier in the book. It's an important topic. But for example, if your love language is touch, then, you cook someone a beautiful dish of food, and it's going to be the hand on the side that says, oh, that's so good. I'm just, delighting. And it's going to be their facial expressions because you're a sensory receiver of that energy. So they've got to use your love language for you to receive. If you're a verbal person, then they've got to say it in words. The touch is not going to register as much or at all. Maybe like, why are you touching me? I just say thank you. Well, I am saying thank you. No, you're not. You're saying thank you in your love language, which is touch. My love language is words. Say thank you in my love language. Or an act of service. You did something for me, I'll do something for you. So, but the energy coming at us, ideally in the language we can most receive it in. My first one is words of appreciation. Gives back. So someone who can be grateful, who can give that energy where it comes through, is far more lovable. Why? Because it lifts the state. What I feel when I give something to my sweetheart and, she bursts into tears of delight or this smile, or she's so excited and says thank you and gives me, a hug. She's a very tactile person. I feel so glad I did that because my state is going up. And of course, when my state goes up because I loved, it's much easier to love some more. You get that. Everyone wants a high state, right? So if you stop the car, pull over to the homeless person and say, would you like a sandwich? And they say, what do you think I am, an idiot? I don't want a sandwich. Give me some money. You've just been slapped in the face because you spent energy. You got the sandwich. You pulled over. You thought about it. You thought about safety. You expend a lot of energy to get to that point. You get slapped in the face. Do it to the next homeless person a little bit more cautiously. And they're like, yeah, all right. You don't even see them eating it. Well, you see, your state is going down. You're feeling like an idiot. Like, I thought I was making a big difference in these people's lives. I'm not. Seems like I'm inconveniencing a homeless person. Let's just stay away from that. In other words, it becomes painful, which means it's harder to love. It's harder to love someone in pain than it is in joy. So someone who's very lovable raises your state when they love you. Now, how can they do that even if you're a sloppy lover? They can say, that is such a nice thought. I love that you brought lilies over to the house, and they are so beautiful. And if I was not allergic to lily pollen, this would be the nicest thing imaginable. So what I'd like to do before I start sneezing is offer these to my neighbor, or you can have them at your house. I love the sentiment. And let me tell you some of the things that I love to receive that are easy, the same kind of thing, but that just really do it for me. How's that? See, that's a lovable person. They're not lowering your state. You may feel, I'm a bit of an idiot that I had no idea she had pollen issues, So there's a little bit of that. But they're letting you know the thought is what counted. Number one. Here's how to solve the problem. Number two, it's no big deal. Number 3 and 4, next time you're going to succeed because I'm going to help you. I'm going to coach you. And that's the next step in lovability. Someone who is willing to coach you. Now, I wrote a book called Maps to Love. I actually only give it to friends. But its basic premise is that we all have a long and winding path that if some random stranger has the rare luck and bit of skill to navigate that long and winding path, we feel totally and completely loved. Now, most of us never feel totally, completely loved. Or if we do, it's less than 1% of the time of our entire lifetime. Just add up the number of minutes in your life that you have felt totally and completely loved. And for most people, if they've got 1,000 minutes in their life in which they felt totally and completely loved. Now, some people just slap those words on a relatively low state, and they haven't really thought about what deep and complete love would look like, what that would feel like here. They haven't thought about what the smell would be like, what the taste, what you'd be doing. They just say, this is good enough. This is totally and completely loved. And that is a very happy person, by the way. That is a satisfier as opposed to a maximizer. Maximizers get more out of life. Satisfiers enjoy life more and get less. You're happier if you're a satisfier. But I'm a maximizer and in the areas that are important to me. And so, I've had some amazing experiences with human beings, but I can say, it's like 2% of my moments on the planet have been that amazing state of, and so one of the things that makes you incredibly lovable is if rather than guessing, like, hey, let's have a date, okay? You show up. Oh, he's wearing the wrong clothes. I wish he'd had a Porsche. I wish he had a red Porsche. Why did he take me to Mexican? That's a bit cheap. I love Chinese. That's a little bit too close. Sit back there. You're not very interesting. Why don't you interrupt me like my family does and build up the peak of the conversation? Well, In other words, if you have an uncoaching person that you're with, they will see 100 things that you're doing wrong, meaning they have this perfect map of what the right person is supposed to do, but they are not going to tell you what that is. They're not going to tell you, whether you ask or not. They're just going to note the fact that statistically speaking, when you've got one of these perfectionist maps in there, statistically speaking, 99.9% of people are going to fail to hit it 99.9% of the time. That's the statistics of failure. But a lovable person is going to say, I'd love to have a date with you, but let's make it special. And I don't want you to have to guess and all this, so let me just tell you what an absolutely great date with me would be like. I'd love it if you picked me up at 7 p.m. on a Friday. Is that good for you? Oh, amazing, great. I love Chinese food, and the favorite place in the whole city is here. Do you like Chinese food? Yeah, I can go for that. And I like someone who, I like to sit a few feet away, Now, a couple of things can happen here as someone is coaching you on what makes them feel amazing. A couple of things. One is the person can say, thank you so much for telling me what your love map is. Thank you. That's not me. I don't have a red Porsche. I don't like Chinese food. I'm busy at 7 p.m. on Friday. I don't like to sit at this distance apart. I don't like being coached. But we've just saved $100 and 3 or 4 hours of discomfort. Isn't that great? Thank you for taking the time to tell me what your map is so that I can see I don't play the part. You see? This is lovability, meaning the other flip of that is, sure, I've got 3 or 4 cars, I'll drive the Porsche. 7 p.m. is great. I'll do anything else. Yes, I don't like synthetic aftershaves or strong hair products. I smell it. I don't like it. I'm a bit allergic. It's just not a nice feeling. Great. Thanks for telling me. I'm not attached to that. I won't spray that on. And by the way, that reminds me, in the other version, I don't like perfume. Can't stand it. If you want to dab a little bit of essential oil, that's fine, but I don't like perfume. So we're talking about, what we're really talking about in lovability is deep partnering and flow, which is why I'm going to talk about partnering soon. Deep partnering and flow. Now, deep partnering and flow can go one of two directions. It can go rapidly into intense multidimensional pain, or it can go rapidly into intense multidimensional beauty. I believe in human nature. I believe that the more you tell people exactly what's going on. The basic goodness in human beings, if given a chance, I mean, obviously there's some very hurt people that don't believe they're ever going to get out of that. Well, that's the person who wants to pull you into their hurt. But they weren't born that way. So I believe in the basis of human nature. And you can tell in an hour phone call, is someone excited about giving to you, or are they excited about hurting you and knocking you down at every turn? You just watch how you feel, watch how your body feels. So this is lovability. And going back to that probability field, one of the greatest gifts is to get to know someone well enough to see them at their peak. Where if they had this job and this partner and this diet, they would be amazing. They would be contributing 10 to 20 times more than they're contributing right now. They would be 10 times happier than they are right now. They'd be more effective. They would be a joy to spend time with. And I'm going to, with a lovable person, enable that probability field and support them into reality. This is an incredibly joyful thing to do. It's also a very practical thing to do, meaning it gives you an option. It's fine. If you can just click your fingers and meet someone in a high resonance state who wants to spend time with you, who shares your interests and that's great. But you can also take someone who has the raw fundamentals to be in an amazing resonance and potentize them. If all it takes is a little money, if all it takes is this little bit of logistical piece, this bit of technology, and they're potentized into a much higher state. Now, you've given them one of the most profound gifts you can possibly give a human being, the gift of letting them experience themselves at their best. And at the very same moment, you've given yourself one of the most powerful states, the opportunity to experience yourself with someone at their best, which is bringing out the best in you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.